Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 87 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. My guest today, Briina, a really good old mate of mine. We've been back and forth on this for a while, and I'm glad to have you here with me today, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you? Good to see you again, Jake. You good?
Yeah, I'm very well, mate. Very well. Paul is
good.
from... Sorry, I've got to stop using the word Paul because no one will know what I'm talking about.
Only you.
Briina is from Tamworth, which is about 10 minutes from where I'm from, Sutton Coldfield in Birmingham. We've been friends for many years, from when I used to do events and promotions and being in those same circles. Briina has been running events and festivals for more than 20 years and is someone who just brings positivity, great energy and lots of fun to everything he touches and is a part of. Not only that, Paul is someone who likes to help other people. I said it again. I'm going to stop saying it. Not only that, Briina is someone who likes to help others and is involved in various charitable projects and created the Hive Foundation, a community hub of health and wellness, and also currently serves as a councillor for his local constituency in Tamworth. A man with a whole lot of hunger for the hustle, and I'm looking forward to diving into it and no doubt sharing some old stories of our party years, which are far from over yet, but they're a little bit on ice, aren't they, at the moment, Paul? Briina, sorry, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, they are. They're obviously we're no different over here in the UK. But I'm glad you pointed about where Tamworth was. It's not the Tamworth just north of Sydney. It is actually Tamworth back in the UK. I wish I was back in Sydney. I lived there between 99 and 01. I was there for the Millennium and for the Olympics. So I had a fantastic 2 years in Australia. But as you say, no, it's Tamworth in the UK. And we obviously, like all countries, are a victim of the current pandemic. And certainly my industry, my living is in events and hospitality. And yeah, it's been a very, very traumatic and disturbing sort of 12 months, really. It's been really hard.
It really has. I know it's interesting because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, Gen Z, who runs his events production manager here and got his own events production company here in Melbourne. And of course, things have started to gradually, slowly pick up here. The government has actually taken notice of the fact that the event industry has been struggling so much and will continue to, because of course, it's the one industry that's immediately impacted by any changes that the government puts out. The government says, okay, look, we're now going to, I'm just using round numbers, 10, 15 people per square area or square meter. And that immediately changes the whole plan of the event and the structure of how it's going to look. But so let's rewind back from that a bit, Briina, and tell us how you actually got started in the event industry all those many moons ago.
How I started my hustle. So so me going back how you started exactly. So going back my immediate CV really was I used to be an operations manager for a bank in the UK, NatWest, and I think that wasn't really me. And I always had a job on the side working in bars and clubs and really enjoyed that. And I kind of got headhunted to go into bar management, which I did. Ended up working for a national company as a troubleshooting manager for them. And then that led me to go into Australia for a couple of years, which we just touched on. But then when I came back from Australia, I was asked to come and run a bar for a family friend, which I did for a while. And then I ended up opening up my own bar, which turned into a club with a later license. And we were a house music bar club, and we attracted lots of big names, sort of house music DJs. And that then quickly sort of grew into 3 clubs in the UK. And then we were kind of hit by the recession in 07 to 09. And coming out of 09, through a series of sort of meeting DJs, we set up a clubbing brand called Secret Party Projects, which you're obviously very familiar with, and came to a few of those. And that was a experiential clubbing brand and doing parties in unusual locations. So we started doing those in stately homes and mansions and castles, and basically the most unusual spaces that were non-typical or what you wouldn't believe would the authorities and the police and the regulatory authorities would allow to happen. But we had a very skilled and very experienced and knowledgeable team around us. We put on really good, safe sort of clubbing events and raves and in bus depots, all kinds of things. So that was how it kind of started, and then from there I grew into another brand that I set up called Forbidden Forest that I created, and that was doing sort of music events in a woodland area. And then I evolved my skills that I've developed. Sort of took me into doing experiential sort of Halloween events, winning awards for doing that sort of thing. Big orchestral events similar to the sort of tours that Pete Tong does with his orchestra, which I believe he's been over in Sydney and in Australia and done. So we've played at some amazing locations in the UK, like the Birmingham Symphony Hall, which has got the most acoustically perfect venue in the UK. And we basically always did something a little bit different to how it's normally being done, and that's my ethos for everything I've always done. Really, that's my hustle, always to do things. And I guess it's what I called my agency, Extra Humongous. Always do something bigger and better than probably what it's been done before, or how anybody else has done it. And we put our own spin on it, and that's kind of the journey, really, from owning bars, putting on events and club nights in bars, to then setting up club nights, to then doing clubbing brands, and it's just grown from there. So it's been a long journey. I think you said 20 odd years of doing big events, and even in the last couple of years we've been doing a festival which we did in 2019, which we're nominated at the UK Festival Awards. So again, to go to an award ceremony at the Troxy in London, where you sit next to Glastonbury and key industry icons, really, in the event management and festival industry. And obviously last year we were really excited because that was going to be year 2 of our festival, and then that was cancelled because of the pandemic. We then went on to see if we could deliver some kind of safely distanced event, and then unfortunately we had to cancel that. So yeah, I mean, the 20 years has been an absolute sort of ride of real sort of fun, hard work, but again, doing something that you really love. It does, as you know, it doesn't seem like work. It's just it's been fantastic. But the last 12 months, not only the pandemic and not being able to do the things that we want to do, it's been really, really, really tough. But so that's the journey, really.
That's the journey, man. When you started, when you were running the bars and you got the first club, did you have this vision that you wanted to have your own agency and maybe have multiple clubs and go on to run events at a bigger scale, or did it just kind of play out as it went on?
I think it just it definitely played out. I definitely never opened up bars and clubs thinking that I was going to be a big club promoter, event organizer, festival owner. It was very much an evolutionary sort of progress or journey, and I guess it genuinely was that hustle. You're looking for opportunities, and when you get yourself into situations, other bigger situations, and because you're delivering something of a premium sort of quality, you get noticed. That led to doing consultancy work for the Ministry of Sound. It led to all kinds of consultancy work. It led to owning a couple of record labels. It led to working with some big DJs. It led to working with some high-profile sports people, putting on private events as well. So, really, I think once you get known or become a little bit notorious, and certainly, again, going back to secret party projects and the mansion parties, we were known as the Mansion Party Boys, and there was nothing around at the time. I know sort of in years gone past, clubbing brands had done that sort of thing, but certainly 2010, I mean, I think six weeks before the event, we put out again, this was really before social media was what it was now. The capability to attract people, to promote, certainly to an audience starting from sort of ground zero, was very difficult. But we did, and I think word went round, and we had this massive, big, stately home in basically between Nottingham, Derby, and Leicester, and it was a stunning, stately home, and it was a summer Saturday. The weather was beautiful, and the next thing you knew, we were there expecting just a couple of hundred people to turn up, and coaches are turning up from everywhere, and people are just walking down the drive. It was a bit like Wayne and Garth. It was like Wayne and Garth in Wayne's World. It was like book them and they shall come. And people just come, and they were coming, and I think we had like 1,500 people there of really like-minded clubbers, house music fans, and the party was spectacular. And the owner of the mansion was just, he loved it, and he said, "Let's do it again." So I think it was 2 months to Halloween, and so we did Halloween, and I think we had about 3,000 people in for Halloween, and we had you imagine this stately home with a big ghost train outside, a fun fair.
I don't need to imagine it. I was there.
You were there.
I was there.
we had loads of different rooms inside the mansion. I remember you were really good friends with guys from the Spin and those guys and Rock and Roller and all them, and they hosted a room in the gymnasium, and we made it amazing. And then again, the owner went, "That was amazing. Let's do New Year's Eve." And then 8 weeks later, we had 5,000 people there for our third party, and it was just. And then it just went from there, and to doing Halloween in castles, to doing bus depots, and it was. We did a Versace mansion. We did, obviously, it led us to doing sort of parties and tours of Ibiza, working with some brands and people like that. It led to a couple of record labels that we worked with some really talented musicians and some people that went on to make it really big. People like Karen Harding. We did some tracks with her. Who went on to work with, she's a fantastic vocalist. But again, it was, as you say, it was hustling, and it was looking at the opportunities, but it was being ambitious and determined to seize those opportunities and make something of them, and it was great.
Yeah, and I suppose a little bit of fortuitousness in the fact of the people you meet along the way, and the people who share your vision with you and are also hardworking and dedicated and you form partnerships, the things that you just touched on there, the Secret Party project. You can't do something like that by yourself. It takes a big team of people at the top level, and then you need a lot of people involved in the production, and then the actual, physical work, the labor work of getting everything done, particularly in a huge mansion like that with lots of different rooms. It's like, okay, we're going to do a party in the gym. Now, on the face of it, that seems cool. We'll pick a theme for the room. We'll see what brand's going to run it. You've actually physically got to get all the equipment out of the gym. You've got to rig all the lighting up. You've got to do, and of course, you're dealing with thousands of people here. So of course, there's health and safety stuff you've got to abide to as well. And then there's the other end of it, which is something I used to help you with and did for the Halloween party, which is the promoters. Actually getting the people into the parties, and it takes a lot of people to make stuff like that happen, and you've got to meet people along the way that share that vision and are as hardworking as you.
It does, and I think touched on something really pertinent there. I think the development of those skills to be able to execute good, safe events like that, and that led, again, looking at opportunities, how we evolved as industry people, and then sort of a few years later, we're then a part of a team delivering Leicester Carnival with 150,000 people and street closures. We delivered an arena in Glastonbury for 3 years on the trot. In Shangri-La, so we built a massive big arena. 15 people, 1,500 man hours, building this club that held sort of just under 1,000 people, and then running it for 5 nights. I was a licensee at Glastonbury, so to be a part of that and to see things and to be able to execute and test your skills in the most testing of circumstances, to turn up at Glastonbury when there's just grass, not glass, just grass. And a couple of cows, and then a week and a half later, you've got 1,000 people stood in this arena that you've built. It's amazing. So those those memories and testing yourself to that degree, you really understand the skill and the high quality work that you can deliver, and that makes you really proud. Certainly winning awards for what you do in the industry as well is always nice. Nice to be recognised by your peers for what you do. So it's been great.
Absolutely, and I share that with you, mate. That there's something about, and I found it. I worked in construction. I still do a little bit now in construction. I did for many years, but just seeing a blank canvas, you get it the same when it's just something you see, whether it's a patch of grass, whether it's a bare room, or it could be a bathroom, a kitchen, and just seeing the blank canvas, creating something, and then watching people enjoy that space. There's some kind of just magic in that. It's hard to put into words. I did some work at a festival here called Rainbow Serpent Festival, and they allow people to do their own theme camps. And our theme camp was psychedelic cinema, and I'd rock up there a week before in anything from 26, 27 up to 35-degree heat, and we would build our camp. And then on the last night, they'd let us have a little after party when the festival had shut down. And just the feeling of standing back on that last night and and mate, you've done it so many times, just watching everyone enjoy themselves and be like, yeah, me and my team created this. There's just it's so much satisfaction in that.
It's right. I mean, I did it 3 years ago. I did one of my brands. Obviously I've got Secret Pirate Projects. I've got Secret Symphony, Higher House, and I've got a brand called Scare Projects, and we do experiential Halloween events. And you'll remember the Halloween events that we did within Secret Party Projects, but we then evolved that concept to do standalone Halloween events. And 3 years ago, certainly a venue you'll be familiar with, the Botanical Gardens in Birmingham, and we did a scare maze around the gardens, and it was an outdoor event. And again, I think we had 6 weeks to promote it, and we sold it out. 15,000 people going round, and we won an award for best new scare attraction in the UK. We was up against some really, really established and very amazing Halloween experiences in the UK, and we won this award in our first year, and it was amazing. But the creative process to deliver it in that 6 weeks, to sell it out, to create it, to theme it, to build it, and again, the team and the people involved in that, it's amazing. And that whole process, it's so rewarding and so enjoyable. I'm very blessed, very lucky to be involved and to carry out projects that I'll pick and choose, really. I deliver projects that I want to do, and then I'll give my whole heart and soul to it, and thankfully we've been very successful in what we do.
Yeah. I think if you do what you love and you love what you do, one, it never feels like work, and two, you find a lot of joy in it. I think that's one of the real secrets. It's not really a secret, but it's one of the keys to life, that if you just find joy in your work and you never feel like you're working and you enjoy it every day, and it's just perpetual, and before you know it, you're part of something that's fantastic, that not only you enjoy, that other people enjoy, and everyone who's part of it enjoys it too. Now, I guess in the events industry, when you're trying to spread joy and cheer and bring people together, I mean, that's exactly what you're going to get in being a part of it. So it's a self-fulfilling kind of thing, but it's not for yourself, if you know what I mean.
It's a funny one, Jake, really. People always used to say to me, what do you enjoy the most out of what you do? And obviously you're always, with any project you're doing, obviously you've got your key objectives and what you're trying to achieve, and whether that is, you're delivering a festival and you've got a number of tickets to sell, or you're doing an event, or there's a creative output that you need to achieve. But for me, the thing that I always enjoyed, and I do on every single project, doesn't matter what it is, it's seeing the pictures and the video after, and seeing people enjoy themselves. And if you've created something that you see people enjoying themselves so much, that's when, that realization of what you've done and what you've achieved, and that then is when it all kind of comes home, really.
Yeah, it all comes together. Now, one thing I want to touch on, because you mentioned it before, is that you actually purchased a pub last year, didn't you? In the middle of the pandemic. Which, see, the thing about the pandemic is, I found that it was full, and is still, and will continue to be full of opportunities. An optimist sees an opportunity in every calamity, whereas a pessimist sees a calamity in every opportunity. And I think last year, if you kept your eyes open, there was a lot of opportunities to be seized, of course, Good times for some, not so good times for others, but opportunities and all of that for everyone. And I guess you saw an opportunity there to get hold of a pub, and it was probably something you wanted to do for a while, was it?
Yeah, I think it's one of my cheesy sayings. I think it's you got the glass that's either you either see it as half empty or half full, and I always see a glass that's overflowing. It's not even, there you go, that's overflowing to me. I see that as overflowing, and obviously, as I said earlier, from coming from owning bars and clubs in the past, I guess it was always in me, and I guess I wanted to have an operation that was probably a little bit more grown up, or a little bit more, a bit more foodie, a bit more drinky, a bit crafty. And I've been offered a venue some time ago, and I've got that much going on, and it wasn't the right time. And then the opportunity re-arose, and we'd had a few meetings, and we sat down on the Wednesday when they shut the pubs down on the Friday in the UK, and then we were meant to be going in on the Monday. So essentially, it was then twiddling our thumbs for a good sort of 6 months. In the interim, I delivered a project for a big brewery in the UK. I opened up a pub for them, and that was a very much a 2-month project. But then I managed to open up my pub in August on the bank holiday in the UK. And we knew it was going to be a challenge. We knew it was going to be difficult, but we were quite prepared to, to work with the guidelines that COVID was obviously presenting to us, with the safe distancing and the table service and all those things that obviously we were, having to abide by. But then obviously things got worse, and the restrictions got tougher, and the tiers then started to fall in. Excuse me. And then obviously come November, and the pub had to shut down, like all pubs in the UK, and we're still shut now. So it's difficult.
It is difficult, no doubt. And it's interesting because when we were when they did the very strict lockdown in Melbourne here, which was kind of, let's say it was April, May, June, July, kind of came out of it somewhere in August. It was, a good 4 or 5 months there. And it was like, that was almost a snapshot. And then it was interesting because everyone in the UK, the lockdown wasn't in there, and everyone was having fun. I'll be speaking to people back home like, damn you, you're out there having fun, and it's summertime, and we're all locked down. And then the whole thing turned completely on its head. You guys had Christmas, and then very soon after that went into lockdown. And then, of course, it's summertime here. There's no joy for me to be found in that either way. Lockdown is a crap thing for everyone. It's a very testing time. It's a very tough time, particularly for people that live alone or don't, see people, or certainly live with other people, because essentially you've got anyone else that's in your bubble, which sometimes be a very small group of people. And it's been a tough time for everyone, but I think it's been a time for a lot of people where they've had that time to realise, when they're away from a lot of things and other people, what things and other people do they actually need, and what things can they actually let go of. And the reason I mention this in the kind of context as a pub, I'm like, I wonder how many people have found themselves not being able to go to the pub every day, having a bit more money in their pocket, and probably feeling a bit fitter and healthier for it. One thing's for sure, though, and I've seen it play out here in Melbourne, is that when there's venues and pubs open back up, they are rammed all the time. People cannot wait to socialise. It's human nature. We're tribal people, and we like hanging out together and having fun together and exchanging and interacting. So yeah, it's a tough time for you right now, but you can be sure as the sun rising, when the pub opens back up, man, it's going to be super busy. And I know, you're talking to me off camera about some other plans you've got. Extra humongous. Nothing stays still in your world. Everything's in a constant evolution, and I know that's not just going to be a pub. There's going to be a few other things that you're putting on the side and on top of it. So I wish you all the best with it, mate. I'm sure it'll go very well for you.
Well, when you're back in the UK, mate, there will be a pint of warm British beer on the bar for you. I can guarantee. I'm sure you're used to your schooner news and your BBs and your what did I like when I was over there? Your little cherubs, I think, was one of my favourite boutique beers over there. Yeah. So, but no, it's exciting, because I almost feel like with we literally opened the door, gave everybody a little glimpse of what the potential of the pub is, and there's an opportunity to build and develop 5 ensuite rooms upstairs, so a little boutique hotel. There's some outbuildings. The food is amazing. Obviously, you know, we did a comedy night. We did 2 comedy nights actually, which were great and sold out. So again, it's like I said to you earlier. You know, I'm not just a glass that's overflowing. I'm like a coiled spring. You know, there's just so much that we want to do, and then that hopefully will be a catalyst. You know, I'm in talks with some key partners to open up a chain of pubs, and you know, I see this very much as a development site to you know, as a test site to do the sort of things that we want to do, and I think it's really exciting with the plans that we've got. And once again, you know, coming out of the lockdown, the opportunities that will present themselves, I think there'll be masses of opportunities to get hustling again, Jake, and I really want to do a chain of pubs. And you know, if you look at what I think are real industry sort of leaders who are fantastic, you know, chains like Brewdog and what they're doing, industry sort of disruptors and what they've done and what they've brought to the industry. You know, I look at those and they're real inspirations to the sort of things that I want to achieve over the next sort of couple of years. So that's the sort of direction that I want to go in, as well with the festivals, the events, and everything that I'm doing. I'm really keen and passionate to work with the partners that and the team that we've put together to create a chain of sort of, you know, real nice pubs that I think are, you know, just right for today's modern age.
Yeah, because I mean, the feel and vibe of things always changes, and I'm going to kind of shift over from that to ask you about challenges in the events career. Of course, we're presented with a lot at the moment, but you said back there, you know, you went through, you know, 2007, 8, 9 was a tough year for everyone as well, global financial crisis. How do you kind of compare that between then and now, and like, how does that kind of compare?
I think only in the way that if either of them hadn't come along, I'd be having a fleet of Ferraris by now, I think. I think it's a really good question, and now having gone through both, in all seriousness, really similar and equally as devastating. You know, the 07-09 financial crisis. I had a cleaning company at the same time as well, a contract cleaning company. So I was on multiple sites with some major UK house builders. I was working with some big pub groups and we were doing the cleans for their refurbished venues. I had teams of cleaners all over the UK. It was a fantastic time, and then all of a sudden everything just went overnight. My cleaning business, my clubs, we managed to keep the clubs going, but you know, they were literally just limping in limp mode, really. You know, they weren't growing, they were just ticking over, and we were having to work round the clock and really hard just to keep doors open and not go under. And that was really tough work. And that was, you know, like all of us, we're not scared of hard work at all. That's what we do. But you know, to work under those conditions, basically fighting for survival was really tough. You know, it was a really tough 2 years. And I think looking back on it now, it's amazing, because it was 2 or 3 years, whereas this has only been sort of 12 months of the pandemic. But it seems so much longer, because we've all been locked in houses, or we've been in isolation or in quarantine. So even though it's only been 12 months, I think it's a very intense 12 months. And certainly for me, last year I had a magnificent year planned out with all my events, my festivals, the pubs opening, lots of consultancy work. I do a lot of freelance consultancy work to the industry, and there were some very exciting projects developing with those. And I was really excited about last year and what that would bring. And then for that all to effectively just drop off a cliff was, you know, you certainly understand, and I'm sure we'll go on to talk a little bit in a moment about the Hive Foundation and mental health and all those sort of things. But, you know, to really understand how such circumstances can have such crippling affects not only business wise, but on people's sort of health and minds and everything. It's really something to be conscious and caring and compassionate and understanding about, because, you know, the last 12 months, you know, strength of character, and, you know, not everybody is as positive as me, and even, you know, the things that I've done in the last 12 months with charities and food projects to help people in the pandemic. Those are the sort of things that kept me going. And I do often, you know, reflect and think, if I hadn't have had those things, you know, how would I have got through the last 12 months, really? You know, it very, very easily turn into some very dark times for people. And, you know, my heart does go out to people who, through no fault of their own, are having to battle through the current pandemic. It's tough. It's tough.
I couldn't agree with you more, mate. My heart goes out to all them people as well who are finding it tough right now. You know, there's people out there who've lost their friends, lost their family members, you know, lost their loved ones, lost their jobs, you know, which perhaps isn't as serious, but still, you know, still devastating. It's been a difficult time for a lot of people. And like you said, you know, I am a positive person too, always have been. Well, I say always have been, that's not too much true. I suppose someone taught me how to be positive in my early 20s, and once I was that way, I found that it's just the best way to be. But I am completely like you know, I'm empathic, I'm compassionate. I understand that not everyone thinks like I do, and not everyone can, and maybe some people just don't want to. It's just not the way that they are, you know, and you have to have allowance for that. But I know you are a positive person, and of course you've managed to remain positive throughout all of these challenges in your life. I dare say, you know, I'm sure you would still be here if you hadn't, but it wouldn't have been as easy for you. So how do you manage that? How do you manage to kind of stay positive in the face of adversity?
Really good question. I think it's obviously inbuilt. It's obviously some kind of DNA existence within me that just kind of keeps driving me. You know, whether that's for success or whether that's sort of personal goals, whether it be, you know, I run a lot, you know, which I find really useful for sort of freeing my mind, and I've ran for sort of years, and I find that really, really useful. So I guess I've got a little bit of an obsessive personality, really, and, you know, everything that I do, I want to give it my best, and you know, go on to be as successful as I can, and deliver the best that I possibly can. And I think that's what drives me. It's that personal drive and ambition to just do the best and be the best that you possibly can, whether that is in your business, in your businesses, or whether that's personally. And I'm finding what I've done the last 12 months to, you know, it's been great to be able to help so many people, and because of the pandemic and not being able to do my core business, that's given me the opportunity to do some charitable stuff, and I set up a food pandemic response last year, where we were delivering food parcels to people in self-isolation, which then that evolved into post-lockdown a project called the Drop Shop Project. So we got some shipping containers and put those down, and we were helping people in food poverty and families who were really in need, and child hunger. So running that, managing the volunteers.
Sorry to cut across you there, but I didn't know you were actually behind that, because my sister messaged me and she goes, "Oh, I've just given some money to these guys, and this is what they do. They drop food parcels to people who are, you know, less fortunate in the pandemic." So, mate, fantastic, great work. Good on you for that.
Yeah, so we've done that, and, you know, I think touching on what you were saying earlier, you know, I've delivered food parcels and sat in my car after and witnessed, you know, the conditions and the personal circumstances that the people are in that I'm delivering food parcels to, and you know, I felt the tears roll down my cheeks. It's heartbreaking, and again, you know, there's people who 12 months ago were in good jobs and were in a good place and were, you know, going on holiday and really enjoying their lives, and next thing you know, they can't afford to put food on the table. And, you know, you know, and you know, you take that across the whole of the UK, take it across the world, but, you know, to be able to have helped as many people as I possibly can in the last 12 months, that's been really humbling, and that's been a really it's been an amazing project for me to be able to do and help those people. So, and again, I think we were talking that kind of sorry if I'm stealing your thunder about being a councillor. I've been a councillor for the last 18 months. I don't mean sitting you down on the couch and talking to you kind of councillor. I've been a local political councillor, and again, that's me. And again, my ethos and the way I just want to help Tamworth as a local town and conurbation, and for it to be the best possible place it can be. And if I can help and influence and have some positive impact on that's what I want to do. So again, that takes up a large chunk of my time as well. I'm involved in a lot of working groups, and I'm very passionate about people contributing and giving something back. And if I can do that over the next few years, and Tamworth's at a very exciting stage locally, and we've just won a load of money, nearly £22 million for a future high street regeneration project, and it's a very exciting time to be. So if I can leave some kind of legacy or have some impact on that for future generations, then I'll be very proud of that.
I'm absolutely sure of it, mate. I think you're already well underway with creating that legacy. When you start to take your time and realise that with your time, skills, energy, efforts, and to some degree finances, of course, because that's what it takes, right? And you dedicate that to helping other people. Of course, you're doing it for other people. That's the main reason you do it. But it's a great thing to do. It's an admirable thing to do. And people say, fantastic, great job. You do really well, and that's all great. But that's not what you do it for. You do it because of the actual want and need to actually help and serve others. It's something that comes from within, not from without. And it's something I share with you as well, mate. I'm involved with a charity called Mission Rainwater, and we've installed over 80 rainwater tanks now for families that had them destroyed by bushfire and were left without water. It's evolved to other things now, but it's, there's another side to it as well in the background that I found that when there's stuff going on in your life, and we've all got stuff going on in our own lives, and particularly when business takes a hit and you're like, well, okay, I'm going to take some of that energy and some of that time that I won't be spending on this business or project, and I'm going to put it into this. And actually, through helping other people, I've found it recharges your batteries. It brings your energy level back up, because what you give out is exactly what you get back. And, that's not always an immediate thing, and it's not always something you understand in the moment, but it does happen. It comes whether it's in hours, months or years. You always get back what you put out.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Jake. I think to be able to step back from your core business and what you do, and to be able to invest your skills and your passion and your love into helping other people, and it's amazing, because obviously if the pandemic hadn't have happened, then obviously I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that. But again, it's opened up my eyes. It's enabled me to develop a foundation that I've been looking at starting for the last couple of years, and I was due to actually start it at the start of last year. And again, something else that the pandemic certainly hit the development of, and that was something called the Hive Foundation, and that was a social movement for social change, really. And again, focusing on mental health. And I guess it seemed like it was fate, as if we kind of knew what was coming and the sort of help that was going to be needed for society as a result of the pandemic, and whether you're taking that down into children and the effects that it's had on children, all the way up to cross multi-generational and multi sort of demographic and ages, and that there's a lot of work that's going to be needed to be done, and it's obviously driven me to get that set up. That's going to be a full charity very soon. We're just going through all of that at the moment. So again, it's enabled me just to diversify a little bit and to use those skills to do those sort of things. And I'm really glad that that time has been afforded to me to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought about this and the pandemic and the amount of things that I was like, I wouldn't have been able to do that if the pandemic hadn't hit. Maybe perhaps some of the things I'm like, look, I can tell you one thing for sure, we would not be speaking right now, because I wouldn't have created the podcast if it wasn't for the pandemic. I started doing I wanted to do a bit of public speaking. I've wanted to do that for years. I wanted to, exuberate this positivity that I have in me and share something outwards. And I found that the podcast led to being an outlet for that. And of course, it helps other people, which is in a kind of roundabout way while we're both here to share our stories, and perhaps some other people can get some inspiration and some positivity from them. It's fantastic. But there was a plethora of things that really I crossed off my to-do list in the pandemic. And I'm like,
yeah.
Some of them, I just don't know how long they'd have been there for. Some of them maybe would have never got ticked off. And I think that's an interesting angle and perspective to look at it from, that in this quiet time, what are those things that perhaps you want to learn, that maybe even that you want to teach others, that you've thought about for years and you've always said, oh, I haven't got the time, or, I don't have the energy, or really you don't have the desire. But at this quiet time, instead of just, perhaps sitting on the sofa and thinking, should I get some more Ben and Jerry's in there? Take a to-do list and dust it off and see what you can go for.
I think absolutely. I think it's driven by that. Ultimately, I think it all comes down to one thing, and that's making people smile and making people happy. And whether that's them dancing on the dance floor, or whether you're delivering some food to somebody that can't, just being able to do something that's selfless and helping people, or doing something for people. I think it's a great thing to be able to do, and that, that drives me, that motivates me, and that just keeps me going to continually do it for as long as I possibly can, really.
And is that really what Briina, what led you to becoming a councillor? Because it's not something that everyone would think about doing, is running for councillor in their local constituency. It's something that's a little bit certainly different for someone. Look, what I'm trying to say is it's not something you'd immediately connect with someone who's big into the events and the festival industry.
I think you're right. I think I'm probably the least typical councillor that you would probably say. Turning up for meetings in shorts and flip-flops, and
do you do that? That's great.
Yeah. I see myself as a positive disruptor. I just want to do good things, but I think there's probably a couple of people who come from our industry who are notable. I think obviously one that's very notorious, I guess, is somebody like Sasha from Park Life and the Warehouse Project. He's a nighttime economy czar for Andy Burnham in Manchester. So again, I think for me that shows the value that's placed on people from our industry, and certainly their knowledge, their understanding, how in touch they are with communities and with people, and how we can communicate and develop those partnerships and those relationships on all levels, really. Because I think you need people from that hospitality industry who have probably seen a little bit of the world, understand the world, are a little bit true to themselves and a little bit true to life, and I think that benefits everybody in all ways, really. I can add value on so many different levels from my experience of business and life, and being from an event and hospitality industry. I think gives you those skills. So I think certainly, again, to reference sort of Sasha Lord and what he's doing for Andy Burnham up in Manchester, I think there's a real need to do that in all kind of locations around the UK. And I probably, I'd urge mayors and all kinds of authorities to look for and reach out to people from this industry, because I think they can add real value on a local sort of political sort of level, really. There's a lot of value there. So that would be my recommendation. I've reached out to Andy Street, the Mayor of Birmingham, again, to look at how he could possibly use me and my experience and knowledge in the industry. There's some big key events coming up, as like the Commonwealth Games. There's many sort of sporting events, and certainly the development of the city, and obviously with hospitality, leisure events, festivals being such a big part of metropolises up and down the country. I think to have somebody from the industry who knows that inside out, who've got that understanding, I think is very, very valuable. And I don't think those skills and knowledge are resourced or tapped into enough. And I think if those are visionary enough and brave enough to take that sort of leap of faith to involve those sort of people in what they're doing politically, you know, in those kind of key city areas, then I think they'll reap the benefit from it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you broke that down, because I initially said, you know, there are two things that you wouldn't think of that you put together, but actually when you break it down there, it's just transferring the skills, right? You're a people's person.
Yeah.
You're used to being around other people. You're used to managing large groups of people and effectively bringing them together and just being absorbed really in the community. And as someone who's a constituent of, you know, council, even wider, you look at parliament, things like that, that's really what you are. I mean, some of the people in those positions seem to be sometimes quite far removed from that and not very in touch with the community. And I think that's why the younger generation, you know, poo-poos them a lot and goes, oh, you know, all that council stuff, all that parliament stuff, it's all a load of crap. I don't want anything to do with it, because they don't feel connected to it, because it needs more people like you who at a real street level are connected with them people, and then people know you, you know, you're someone who's relatable, someone they can, you know, they perhaps have even talked to, or, oh yeah, I know Briina, he owns the pub in town, you know, oh yeah, I went to his event years ago, it's fantastic. It's actually really a transferable thing, isn't it? And it needs more people like that in them positions.
I think it's very transferable. I think it's very. I think it makes a lot of sense. It does create a lot of conflicts of interest sometimes because of what you're involved with or what you do, and it might not be seen as traditional. You know, it is a little bit out of the box, and it is a little bit a blue sky thinking there in for people to embrace that and encourage that and to work with those kinds, that way of thinking. But I think once they do, I think they're only ever going to reap rewards, and certainly Andy Burnham has, and I certainly think, you know, if you look at, you know, certainly advisors that prime ministers and key ministerial positions take on, I think they're starting to be very receptive and understanding of where they draw their knowledge and their inspiration from, and the people where they can, you know, get that from. So I think we'll see more of that. And I think, you know, me being a non-typical kind of councillor, certainly with my background and maybe the way I dress, the way I look, the way that, you know, my background and my certain industry, that may start to become a little bit more of the norm, maybe. You never know.
A positive disruptor, mate. When you're a positive disruptor, you're going to disrupt things. And look, maybe, you know, the old traditional ways, they work for a long time, but the world is... the world's just changing so rapidly. I remember reading something the other day, and it said that the change that we've seen in kind of our lifetime, let's take the past kind of 40 years, has been more change than your previous 3 or 4 generations added together would have seen. Just the rapid way that things have changed and the way people are just instantly connected now. I mean, you touched on it earlier. It was probably... I mean, Secret Party Project, that Halloween one, what year was that? I feel like it was 2012, 13, something like that.
So the first one was 2010.
10, okay, all right. So, it would have been 2010. So, 11 years ago. And I mean, just look at it then, the way, like, we were getting people to those gigs. Okay, there was a bit of Facebook, but it wasn't at an ad level. It was very light, and it was usually just word of mouth via Facebook. It was like, here's the event, here's the party, share it with your mates. And like, some mates, it's funny because I don't speak to them for years, and then I'm like, how do I? And you end up scrolling back through the chat, and you're like, oh yeah, they used to send me a list of 30, 40, 50 people every Thursday, Friday night, and that's how we used to do it. It was word of mouth, and Facebook was just a platform to do it from. It's just changed so much now. It's, you know, the organic reach has really slowed down, and it's much more towards a paid model, and it being a lot more kind of shoved in your face, for want of a better word. And it's exciting, I think, because you're either, you know, there's people who are part of the change, there's people who let it pass them by, and then there's people who just watch it. And I think if you're not involved with it and in touch with it, then it is going to pass you by. And look, that's fine if you don't want to be, but if you are and you keep your finger on the pulse and you are involved in it, then you're going to reap the rewards from that. And look, you're a guy who does that, and I just think the world needs more people like that. So that's how I see that, and that's pretty much all I have to say about that. There's one more question that I have for you, and it has the title of this podcast in it, In fact, now I'm going to give you some rapid fire ones at the end because they're always good fun. But this next one, mate, we've mentioned the word hustle a few times. I'd love to know like how you define it and what's driven your hunger for it over the years.
I think how you define the hustle is just never accepting no in any way. You know, never accept no as an answer. You know, if you're trying to achieve something, if you've got a goal, if you've got an ambition, if you've got a desire to achieve something, just keep going till you get there, and you will. There is no way, nothing or nobody will ever deter you from achieving what you want to achieve. So keep hustling and you will achieve. It will happen.
Love it. Simple answer to a pretty simple question, really.
Yep.
It's about belief and never accepting no as an answer. All right, rapid fire questions. I'm just going to pick these off the top of my head. If you were stuck on a desert island, what were the 3 things you would need with you?
Definitely my flip-flops. Definitely a device with lots of quality house music on.
Oh yeah.
And I would and beer.
Beer. Nice, mate. Like it. Do you believe in aliens?
No.
Do you believe in ghosts?
No, although I have had an experience which I cannot explain, and I do believe it was one, but I don't believe in them. So that's a little bit of a crazy answer.
It wasn't at Tamworth Castle, was it?
It was very near to there. It was probably within about 200 yards of the castle, and it was when I actually came back from Australia, and I was running the bar for the family friends, and they got this very old bar. It was called Baldrick's, and it was a very, very old Tudor building, and everybody had gone. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I was waiting for my taxi to come. It was 2 floors, and I'd heard people say it was haunted. I didn't. Again, you asked me the question. I said I wasn't a non-believer, but I was sat there, and all of a sudden I heard footsteps above my head, and it was as clear as light as day. There was no other explanation for anything else. So, to that end, I don't believe in them, but something happened that night that I cannot explain.
Favorite thing to do on a Sunday morning?
Ooh.
You can say on camera.
Yeah. How about the thing I can't say on camera?
That's fine.
Favorite thing to do on a Sunday morning is just to wake up and have a fantastic Sunday.
Good on you. And what's the longest run you've ever done, mate?
I'm not built for marathons. I'd love to do a marathon. I've done lots of half marathons. I'm 6'2". I'm a big frame guy. I used to play football good standard. I used to box a bit, and but running big distances isn't made for my frame. But I do all right for my size, and I run 3 to 5 miles a day, and the most I've done is a half marathon. But I find anything more than that really, really tough. But I love running, and it's something that I've done for probably 35 years now, and
really? Wow.
Thousands of miles. If you look on my Nike app, there's just thousands of miles, and I've gone through lots of trainers, and it's something that I really enjoy. That it's every now and then I'll have a little dip, and it might be an injury, or it might just be feel the need to eat lots of food for a few months. But I always go back to running, and it's an absolute love of mine. Not when I'm doing it, but the buzz after. Nice. Absolutely love it.
That's a good way to look at it, isn't it? Because I'll tell you what, I've just recently got into running, back into kind of running, and I wouldn't always say I enjoy it when I'm doing it. I can probably smash out like 5Ks. I don't know how much that is in miles. I think it's maybe a couple of miles. But
three.
It's 3. Okay, there you go. Yeah, left, right, left. But it is, you're right. It's that feeling you get afterwards, isn't it? The feeling of accomplishment, the feeling of I didn't enjoy that, but I pushed through it, perseverance, and just it feels good when you sweat, when you've been sweating. I think.
I did. I was looking at my old times the other day, and I went through a period of about 6 months of doing. I think you do it in Australia. You do park run. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Park run sort of started over in the UK, I think, and lots of people, 1,000 people did it all over the UK. It's basically a 5K timed run. And I think the fastest one that I ever did was just over 24 minutes. So I was doing like 8 minute miles, which again for somebody my size, you know, and I was just thinking, obviously I'll never ever get close to that again. But I was quite amazed that I ever did that in the first place. But yeah, no, I do love running, and to anybody who does, my girlfriend's actually at the moment she's just started doing couch to 5K. And she's loving it as well. So yeah, if you're looking for something during the pandemic or something to get into, get out and run. It'll free your mind.
Sorry, mate, lost you for a second there.
Yeah.
But yeah, from couch to 5K, were you saying that was your missus who did that?
Yeah, so my girlfriend started doing it now. So I'm sure the day will come where we'll, which I never ever thought would come, where we'll be going running together. So yeah,
people running together, that'd be an awesome thing to do with your partner, for sure.
We'll do it on Valentine's Day on Sunday. That'd be lovely.
Oh, lovely done. Right, I'm going to drop your links here in the comments, which, you know, you've got a various amount of things going on. But if people want to kind of connect with you, get in touch with you, or just learn a bit more about you, mate, where's the best place for them to go and do that?
Yeah, so I'd love to hear if anybody wants to have a chat, or anybody's looking for any advice, or just wants to have a chat about anything that we spoke about during the hustle. The best thing to do is get hold of me through the Extra Humongous Facebook page. I guess it's where everybody's engaging and touching base. So if you look for Extra Humongous, that's spelled XTRA. There's no E on that, and then Humongous. And yeah, just drop me a message, and it'd be a pleasure to talk to you.
Mate, and it's been a pleasure to have you on the show on that note. Thanks for your time, Briina. Always good to catch up with you. And it's been many years since we had, so let's make sure it's not as long next time, eh?
Definitely. And I look forward to seeing you face to face soon, either over there or over here.
I'll tell you what, mate, this has been the longest time I've ever been away from home. I'm itching to get back there. So as soon as it's possible, I'll be back there. I'll bring a schooner with me, and you can pour a warm one in your.
Definitely. Wait for the pubs to open. See you later.
Take care, buddy. See ya. Bye. Bye.